Hey, I'm Jason from Fuzzlord Effects, and in this video we're going to be talking about guitar cabinet impulse responses, commonly called cab IRs. So we're going to go over what they are, what they're commonly used for, and I'm going to drop some info also about why I think you should be checking these out at home if you haven't used them already. At the end of the video, we're going to talk a little bit about the free downloads. I have 3 speaker cabs that are available for download as cab IRs that were just some of my favorites in my speaker collection. Don't go anywhere, we're starting right now. If you're new to the channel, I'd really appreciate if you'd hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below. I'm curious to know how you found the channel. If you're a regular, I'm curious to know what is your experience using guitar cab IRs, maybe some of your favorite ones out there. Check out the link in the description. There's a link to the Fuzzlord Effects email list. When you sign up, you get a free download of 3 of my favorite guitar cabs that I turned into impulse responses so I could share it with people. So let's start off by talking about what a guitar cab IR is. When we play a guitar amp running into a speaker cab, the actual speaker has its own frequency response. So if you look up a Celestian Greenback, for example, you'll actually be able to see a graph, and it shows you how it responds to different frequencies across the human hearing range. So what they do is they pump a tone through, kind of like that sweeps from very low frequencies all the way up to really high frequencies, and then they just measure how that speaker responds. With each speaker having its own kind of tonal imprint on the overall tone of our guitar amp, I think you could imagine how swapping out speakers really affects the way our overall amp sounds and just our overall tone. So if you got a rig at home, like you got an amp set up, and it just seems like no matter what pedals and stuff that you change out or what amp heads, you just still aren't quite happy with your tone, this is where a guitar cab IR is going to come in really handy. So a cab IR is a digital representation of that frequency response of different speakers. They're used very much like a VST plug-in, so we'll pull up something in our DAW. Every different DAW has a different way to do it. It's pretty straightforward for the most part, but it's basically like calling in a plug-in, and then we'll load up the Celestian Greenback recorded with a SM57 cab IR. There's some more in-depth programs out there, like from the company 2 Notes, which is what I run on my computer and we'll be checking out in the demo later on in this video. Have different options for the room sound as well as the different microphones used and all that kind of stuff. Again, normally we have our guitar amp head running into our big 4x12 speaker cab, for example. And with tube amps, we gotta be really careful because tube amps need to see the load from a speaker cab, otherwise we'll blow the output transformer and a bunch of other stuff in the process. So this is where a load box comes in. If you've heard the term load box before, it's like a dummy load that is going to provide a load for the tube amplifier so we don't blow it. Then it's going to have a DI out that we can plug into the computer, and then we can start loading up our impulse responses. Some amps out there have a DI out already, but you still need to run a load. Some of the solid state amps today have a nice DI out. A lot of them have a cab sim built in, but this is going to be one of the times where having the built-in cab sim, it would be really nice to be able to turn that off and just run direct from the amp into the computer or into a load box and then into the computer. All right, let's go over a little bit about how they are used. So once the load box is all set up and we have a way to plug our amplifier into our DAW, we can pull up stuff that's basically like a plug-in, a VST plug-in, and load up these different impulse responses. The cool thing about it is just by scrolling a mouse wheel, we can cycle through like a dozen different speaker boxes and the speakers themselves, different room sounds, stuff like that, and really dial in our tone. So if you're somebody that's kind of shopping for new speakers for your amp, but you're not sure, like, do I want a Greenback or a V30, or do I want something from Ted Weber? Impulse responses are a really great way to kind of tone test these different speakers. So with that in mind, I think the best way we can demonstrate how useful they are is to go ahead and check out some sound clips from the Fuzzlord Effects Guitar Cab IR pack. So we're going to check out some of the different speaker cabs. I'm playing the same amp, then just cycling through these different cab IRs. I think you're really going to be able to hear an instant difference when these things switch. It's also a really helpful way when we're recording direct into our computers, into a DAW, to quickly cycle through and find a nice speaker cab sound. For years, all I did was put an SM57 microphone in front of whatever speaker box I was using. I would record kind of higher volume to try to get the sound right. But for the last few years, I've been getting really into cab IRs, and it's the same sort of thing. I have my pedal board running into a tube amplifier, which has a load box so I don't blow it by not running a speaker cab. And then that runs with an XLR cable direct into my audio interface into Reaper, which is what I use for a DAW. Alright, I hope this video helped explain a little bit about what a guitar cabinet impulse response is, a cab IR. why you might want to look into using them, and then also hopefully it's just fun checking out a few of the different ones that I made personally to share with people all over the world. So drop a comment below and let me know what you think of guitar cab IRs or your experience with them in general. It would also be helpful if you shared some different plugins or programs that run them. That's kind of where a lot of people get lost. So don't forget to sign up for the Fuzzlord Effects email list if you wanted to grab the free downloads. You get 3 of these guitar cabs that I put together for signing up, as well as a couple drum backing tracks that I programmed, and a whole PDF ebook download that I wrote about guitar pedal board basics. I'm really doing my best over here to try to share what I've learned about electronics and music and home recording as a way to help others. So with that in mind, I want to give a big shout out and a thank you to all the names that I'm running on the screen right now. These are all the folks that support this YouTube channel through the Fuzzlord Effects Patreon page. So thank you, everybody. It's all these folks that really just help support what I do, pitch in a couple bucks a month, and give me a little bit of free time to go through and work on the YouTube channel and focus on sharing this kind of information. I also want to give a big shout out and thank you to the VIP level supporters. That is Michael L., Corey Cornett, and Vayuslavic. Big thank you to all of you folks for doing what you do so I can keep doing what I do over here. So if you want to know more about the Patreon page, there's a link in the description. We also do some Q&A over there, some pedal discounts, some giveaways, some fun stuff like that. There's also a new Fuzzlord Effects Discord server. I put that together recently so people could have a place to come together and talk about these kind of things, as well as building a DIY guitar pedal community. If you're not familiar with my work here at Fuzzlord Effects, I'm an electrical engineer and a guitar pedal designer that's been a lifelong musician. Fuzzlord Effects started in 2016, so currently we're on our 8th year of bringing more fuzz pedals to the world. I've got to meet a lot of really interesting people, cross paths with different musicians, and probably my favorite thing of it all is getting to meet people here through YouTube and share the things I've learned that a lot of times came from a lot of trial and error. So I'm hoping I can help things be a little easier for you. Thanks for watching. Again, I'm Jason from Fuzzlord. I'll talk to you in the comments. I'll see everybody over on Patreon, and hopefully this video was helpful.